Hello everyone, Nukin here, and welcome back again to my channel. I'm back with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and today we'll be talking about ships, but before we get started, I need to make a quick announcement. I have finally made a Patreon account the other day, and basically if you don't know what Patreon is, it's kind of like Kickstarter and GoFundMe for content creators, people that make podcasts and YouTube videos and music. And I created 5 tiers, which all have some pretty sweet, unique rewards. And basically by supporting me on Patreon, you're helping to cover costs such as equipment, software, and probably a lot of caffeinated beverages. So I'd really appreciate the support, and it would help me to keep pumping out excellent videos for you guys. And then I could also take it to the next level from there. So the link will be in the description, and I appreciate any kind of support that you guys can supply me. And now we're gonna get back into the video content. Today is a good day because the best character that's come to the game all year is getting a capital ship. That's right, it's time to begin some dark side lovin'. Thrawn's Chimaera will be the first new capital ship added to the game since ships has originally launched. And in this video, I'm going to introduce the Chimaera's kit, break it down for you, and then lastly, we'll look at some gameplay footage. So please take a moment to sub to my channel, check out the Patreon, grab a cold beer or whatever you plan on drinking, and let's get, without further ado, let's get started. So here we go. Alright, so let's get into the kit, starting off with the basic calculated strike. So it reads, target ally is called to assist with 35% offense. So this is a pretty unique ability because the Chimaera is actually not doing any damage on the basic attack. All of the damage is coming from the ally that you are targeting. So it is not a random assist. You are selecting the ally to attack, and then they get a small offense boost, and that's where all the damage is coming from. So basically, I'm going to start comparing this with the Executrix because that is the other Empire capital ship. What you're trading off here from the Executrix is the raw damage from that capital ship and the potential expose for a little bit more utility, which on a dark side fleet is probably going to be best, especially on offense. It remains to be seen how the AI is going to select allies. I do not know how that's going to work out, but definitely on offense, this is the superior basic attack. Alright, so let's get into the specials, starting off with the first one called Art of War, and it reads, all allies recover 20% health and gain a buff for 2 turns. So your attackers are going to get the offense up buff, your support ships are going to get the foresight buff, and your tanks are going to get the defense up buff. On top of that, you're going to inflict debuffs on all enemy ships, and it's going to work sort of the same way. The attackers are going to get offense down, their support ships are going to be ability blocked, and their tanks are going to receive the defense down debuff. These effects cannot be evaded and cannot be resisted. This ability is on a 3-turn cooldown, so pretty cool. I think that this is a unique ability because it has area effect heal. It's not protection regen, it is just a heal on the health portion of your ships. And they're great buffs and they're great debuffs. So instead of inflicting mega debuffs or giving your ships a bunch of buffs, it's doing a little bit of both. There's a balance, and I think that's probably best. Also, if you're going to rank the buffs and debuffs, I kind of theorycrafted that a little bit. I think the offense buff is the strongest, followed by defense up, and lastly foresight. I think the best debuffs in order are probably defense down, followed by offense down, and lastly ability block. So keep that in mind when you're selecting your fleet and choosing to use this against enemy fleets. So that is the first special, pretty awesome, and it gets better from there. Moving on to the second special, Phylon 7 Tractor Beam Projectors. I like that name. It reads, deals special damage to all enemies and remove 20% turn meter. So this is a AoE attack, which stands for Area of Effect Attack. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and it's doing about 20 to 50k damage depending on whether it's critting. Keep in mind this is special damage, which means that it can be deflected. And actually, if you look, the second to last ship on the right is deflecting the attack, which means there's a small percent chance to deflect attacks that do special damage, and if it's deflected, they take 0 damage. The turn meter reduction is pretty nice. Removing turn meter on ships is great, and there's really not too much to say here. I mean, you're doing an area of effect attack, and you're reducing some turn meter, so there's some utility there, and it's some pretty nice damage. So pretty good special. And now let's move on to the ultimate. The ultimate is called Strategic Dominance, and it reads, instantly defeat target enemy and deal damage to all remaining enemies equal to 40% of their max health. Dispel all debuffs on target ally and grant them 100% health, 100% protection, and 75% turn meter, and heal all other allies equal to 40% of their max health. Increase all cooldowns on the enemy capital ship by 1. Wow. Wow. Look at this. Oh my god, it's amazing. Alright, so this is a reusable ability in 4 turns. It is the first insta-kill ability for ships. This is like Nihilus for ships. And then on top of that, it does area of effect damage. You can't see it here because it's the last ship remaining, but we're going to see some gameplay footage in a bit. And the AoE damage is actually pretty decent. The massive single target heal for the health and protection is going to be good. You can basically repair a ship and get it back into the fight right away. You're going to do another AoE heal, so combining this ultimate and the Art of War, your ships are going to be pretty healthy, and you could potentially combine this with the TIE Reaper because the ultimate increases the cooldowns of the enemy capital ship by 1. So the combination of reducing the turn meter of capital ships with the TIE Reaper and increasing cooldowns by 1, you're really going to slow down those enemy capital ships. Now we're going to start rolling some of this gameplay footage as I go over the last ability, the Unique, which is a passive, and it's called Fierce Loyalty, and it reads, all allies have 25% critical damage and 15% critical chance. When an enemy is defeated, all allies are going to gain 5% tenacity stacking until the end of battle, and the reinforcement bonus is the critical chance up buff for 2 turns. So pretty good ability. On paper, this is the only ability that the Chimaera has that directly benefits Empire allies. The 25% critical damage is doubled for Empire allies, so they are going to have 50% critical damage, and there is a lot of synergy with Darkside ships and Empire ships, but this is the only ability I believe that directly benefits ships that have the Empire faction tag. The critical synergy that this ability has is great. Critical damage and critical chance are like peanut butter and jelly. They go hand in hand, and basically combining that with the reinforcement bonus that really solidifies that, because if you do the math, a reinforced ship is going to have 40% critical chance, 25% coming from the buff, 15% coming from the passive ability, and with the combining that with the natural crit chance the ship has, they're going to be critting like crazy, and then they're going to crit and do even more damage because they have high critical damage. And combine that with the basic attack, which gives 35% offense as well, there's going to be a lot of pew pew going on, and they're going to see some high damage numbers. I'm talking probably like 100k or approaching there. So awesome. And lastly, the tenacity, I want to talk about that a little bit. The 5% is not that great, but towards the end of the battle, it will kind of build up, And when you combine the tenacity that you're gaining from this, and if you're using the Ghost, which reduces the potency of enemy ships, you can probably get to a point where your ships are resisting debuffs quite often, which is good, especially if you're resisting target lock. Alright, so now that we have finally finished reviewing the kit, let's go a little bit more in depth and get into some heavier theory crafting. So generally speaking, the Chimaera is the most flexible capital ship to date. And I might eat my words here for it, but I'm pretty good at predictions. I think you can basically run any ship lineup under this capital ship. Then you can run Republic ships, Rebel ships, you could run a fleet with a bunch of high damage attackers, you could run a fleet with a bunch of tanky ships and just try to win by, you know, keeping all your ships alive and killing the enemy with the Annihilate ability. So there's a lot of different strategies here. Of course, I think the optimal fleet is going to be Empire, but basically what I'm saying is I think some of the second to third best options are also going to be quite good in comparison and effectiveness. I think the overall lineup is going to be basically the optimal lineup, I should say, are all the Empire ships, the TIE Advance, the Gauntlet Starfighter, the TIE Reaper, the Imperial TIE Fighter, etc., with some supporting ships like the Scimitar, Slave 1, First Order TIE Fighter Pilot, Biggs, and Fives. I think that's basically going to be the strongest lineup, but some of those other ships, like even the Ghost and the Phantom, which are Rebel ships and the opposite faction, work quite well, but the Chimaera, the Ghost actually works quite well with the passive, so a lot of different options there. I think the basic is quite good, and 9 times out of 10, instead of doing a high damage attack with the 35% offense, you're going to want to call a ship that has utility on the basic. So any ship that can apply the target lock debuff, which is the best debuff in ship arena, fleet arena, is going to be good. So the Imperial TIE Fighter Pilot, the First Order TIE Fighter Pilot, TIE Advance, Sunfac, etc., or ships that can dispel on the basic, or I should say dispel, I always pronounce that wrong, like Fives are going to be quite good. And actually the First Order TIE Fighter Pilot and Biggs work well together, because every time the TIE Fighter Pilot double attacks, he has 2 opportunities to apply target lock, which increases the protection of your big ship. And if you're using the Gauntlet Starfighter, your big ship has % defense boost, and you can give defense up with the Art of War special, and you can have healing mechanics going on like AoE heals. You can keep your bigs alive the entire match, which is insane. Also, the ultimate, which is quite strong, increases the cooldowns of the enemy capital ship, and I think has a 4-turn cooldown, which is different than I think some of the other specials that have a 5-turn cooldown. And doesn't matter if the enemy ship has a million HP or protection, or if there's damage immunity. If you do the Strategic Dominance Ultimate, it's going to take that enemy ship out of the equation no matter what. Alright, so we're going to start wrapping up here. This has been an introduction to the Chimaera, which is the 4th capital ship coming to the game, and it's the newest and only capital ship that was added since ships launched. And it is the 2nd Empire capital ship, and it's probably the most flexible capital ship. And I guess I'm just gonna keep saying capital ship. Anyway, so we reviewed the kit and we did some theory crafting, we showed some gameplay footage, and I hope to be able to play around with the ship before it goes live on my test accounts. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something. If you have questions, drop a comment below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out the Patreon once again, shameless plug, and I will catch you guys later. Cheers.
Killers understand it.